This is our house, which we are renovating to make our home. My name is Orion, this is Jess and Benji, and Lilia is now 4 months old. Since birth, we have ripped this house apart, rewired it, did some plumbing, and moved in the space of approximately a month. So if you're interested in learning how to do things around the house, DIY, renovation, all the above, then make sure you hit subscribe to follow along every single Wednesday and Sunday to see us turn this house into a home. Today is finally the day where we potentially finish this. So it's not really finally today because it's potential. In the last video, I solved an irritation of mine to do with all these clothes. I've actually added more shelves between the vlogs because it was just far, too little space. Whereas now there is a place for all of Jess's clothes, and this is looking good and it serves a great purpose. However, Jess is incredibly keen to get on using this space. I've added her second monitor there and it actually turned out okay. They, need adjusting ever so slightly, but there is no whacking great big gap in the middle. So from a functionality standpoint, it actually works out great. What I want to do today is add a coat to the top of this so it seals the wood, because otherwise it's going to leave stains and all sorts of stuff like that. So I need to add some coats to this, sand it down and make it really nice to sit at and lean on. I've got some edge banding that I want to try. Now, I'm not necessarily 100% sure what I'm going to do with this, but this definitely needs edge banding on it. So I'm going to edge band that, potentially try this as well. However, I would really like to make some drawers. Now, I've been doing a lot of thinking, and this is all an experimentation for me, as well as this bookcase. I've never done things like this before. So every time I recreate something or do something again, I like to step it up and learn something new. So next time I build like a cabinet or a carcass that I've turned into a bookcase, I stepped it up. I've added these little shelves, like shelf holders, rather than like using big thick shelves like this or those ones up there. So I'm kind of always stepping it up a little bit. However, there is a little problem with this desk that I've created here with the idea of putting drawers in there, and it is that these gaps are really small. Similarly, I don't actually own a router or a jig to create grooves in wood so I can slot my drawers into. Now, to elaborate on what I mean, this is a drawer from my chest in the other room, and as you can see, it's got 4 sides, the front facing side, and then underneath is this MDF panel that's actually slotted in, if I can show you, into a groove there, look. So what you do is you cut 3 sides to the drawer, and then you stick a groove or like a dado groove in it, and then you slide in your bottom section, and then you pin the front together to create a drawer. But I don't have the means to do this yet. That's right, I am upgrading my my tool arsenal, as I have got a second-hand, fairly cheap router to use for the first time. I've been told by so many people that it is one of those things that you should have in your carpentry, if you're doing cabinets and stuff like that. That and a table saw, but a table saw is quite expensive, so I've opted for the router for the time being. And obviously you see me use my track saw jig that I've got, so I don't actually own a plunge saw. I'm just getting there little by little, and a router is the next step. Another thing it's going to enable me to do is actually round off these edges so they're not so sharp. Now, don't get me wrong, I have sanded this, so it's not super sharp, but I want a really nice round edge on the end here, and a router is how you do that. Carpentry stuff aside, the actual thing I want to start with is the lights, because it does get a little dingy in here, and Jess is going to be doing crafting and various other bits and bobs. So I'm going to be adding some drop lights here, as well as LEDs that go around the desk. If we step into my freshly upgraded DIY workbench, where I am super happy with having everything hung up and organized so I can grab things that I need, because it was starting to get a little bit like the top shelf. We won't talk about that, but everything else is in a really good spot. I even repurposed my guitar mounts from the flat to hold up my drills. How good is that? Everything is just perfect. But these are all the things that I need to upgrade Jess's desk and get it closer to being finished. I picked up a couple of downlights, which I mentioned, or not drop lights, downlights. I don't know if there's any difference there, but I've got downlights that I'm going to be putting in the top shelf. Then I've got your standard Govee RGB LEDs. However, what I didn't realize is that you can actually add breaks in them using this connector kit. In the past, if I ever wanted to put LED lights on a desk or shelves next to the desk and stuff like that, I would actually run the end up the shelf and then run it down the corner of the wall onto the next shelf and then back down to the desk and then wrap it around the desk and use one really long piece of LED strip lighting. However, I don't want to do that this time. I want it to be clean. So, like I said before, I am upgrading my knowledge and I'm going to learn how to add these connectors, or like bridges if you like, between the actual LED lighting. So in effect, it should have lighting across the back of the desk, a bridge that goes up to the shelf, another light across the top of that shelf, and then a bridge that goes up to the next shelf, and a light. So how I would do it in the past is this light would be continuous. So you would have light that goes down here, across here, goes across here, comes back down, and like this, and it would be one long light. I don't want to do that this time. Now I've done a lot of electronics and stuff around the house and wiring, so this really shouldn't be that difficult. I just, for some reason, never knew it existed. I didn't really question how people did it, but now I've got the stuff to do it. I'm not going to be soldering it. This is like a connector kit. I don't have a soldering gun, and this is far cheaper for what I'm doing. So once I learn how to do this, I can actually start adding LED light to a lot more stuff to add a bit more oomph and vibe to stuff that I make. Anyway, enough yapping. Let's get these installed. Let's get this installed and get ready to varnish the desk. Before I start drilling holes in this, I need to take all of this off. That way I can fix an earlier mistake of not adding some buttons in the middle here, and gives me access to the wiring that I'm going to put in this shelf. Next up, I need to mark the wood where I'm going to be putting my 3 spotlights. Or downlights. I've given these things so many names, but basically I've taken a measurement from here to here and I've divided it by 4, which gives me 3 evenly spaced marks. If you wanted 4 lights across here, you'd take the width and then divide that by 5. So 4 plus 1, that's what you divide it by. Gives you really quick math, very easy to do. Just use a calculator on your phone. Then, using a hole saw, we're going to drill some holes in here. That's 1. It's very messy. 2. 3. Bloody hell. So it's sawdust everywhere. Now I'm just going to follow this very simple guide to wire it all up. Ta-da! We have lights. However, there is a slight issue. They do work, by the way. If I flick this switch over here, look at that. It's actually incredibly well lit. They work surprisingly well. It's like the perfect spot to do all your crafts because you can see everything. However, if you, see how they're above that beam there? I didn't consider, because I've never used downlights before. This is my first time ever using them. I didn't consider the fact that they might rise above the thickness of my shelf. And it's, quite a bit actually. It's nothing I can really fix. So I'm gonna BRB while I troubleshoot my issue. All right, I gave Dodgy DIY Dave a call and came up with some solutions, and I have now fixed the problem. I apologise, I'm a bit shiny, by the way. It's incredibly hot in this room. He basically said, make it thicker. So I added another bit of CLS on top, only half instead of going like the full width of it, just so it didn't need to go any thicker than that. But now it is a lot thicker. It's fixed the problem, but now my my panel that I used to cover, it's not big enough. Obviously it'd go that way, but it's not thick enough anymore. So to put a trim on this, I am gonna have to buy some more like smooth, like planed wood. Is that what it's called? I think it's called that. Yeah, plain smooth timber. I'm gonna have to buy some more of this. It's thicker to cover that up. Either way, I'm happy. I've got the lights in there like I wanted. I need to put the LEDs in now, which took an extraordinarily long time to do. I tried to solder them. I tried to use the clip connectors. Eventually, after a lot of research, I found the correct LED to use with the correct connectors and did it the way I intended to. So kind of learned how to solder for no reason. But let me tell you, the end result was definitely worth it. And thankfully, I now know how to do it in the future. It's been that long that I've had a haircut, and I have also varnished the top and added this board back to the front again. So it is incredibly close to being finished. There are, I would say, 3 main things left to do now. It's to like tidy up this corner and potentially paint this area a little nicer, and then it looks a bit battered and bruised here. I need to build some drawers. However, I'll talk about that in a second. And I actually just need to put monitors in and put Jess's computer in and hook it all up. Unfortunately, after being at this desk doing LEDs and so on, and actually sitting at it quite a lot to do the stuff, I've come to realise that the space that I have provided for my drawers is quite small. So I'm going to have to do it an old school way, or at least trial a couple of stuff, and I'm going to do that in the next vlog because I'm going to wait till I have my router to achieve that, just because I am working with very limited space. And if I pin the boards together to make a drawer now, it's not going to be as efficient as it would be if I had the router. So I'm going to save that for the future. But man, I am so happy with how this has all turned out. I'm just going to go grab some edge banding and we're going to iron those on to the front here. And to do that, I'm going to be using Jess's Cricut little heat press that she has, because this is like perfect. I'm using a massive iron. This is actually really good to be putting these things on. So heat this thing on and we're going to get to heat pressing. All right, I have my little strip cut down, and all I'm going to do is place this exactly where I want it. I kind of feel like I should have taped this up first, but with that on, use this and just push it on. I think it said it's best to do it section by section rather all at once, so I can get it nice and even. God, this is so easy. Perfecto. There we go. Edge banding on. You have to just let it dry. I think it takes a while for it to dry, and then I can trim the edges actually off. Now, I will be honest, it's not perfect, but I'm also not really sure what to do about this bit here, because I've used a different type of wood there, and I did think when I put my drawers in, it would like cover it up anyway, but yeah, I'm not sure. Should I edge band that? I don't know, let me know in the comments and I'll do it off camera, but I'm not really sure how to cover that bit up. That being said, with the stuff that I have covered up, it does look much better. I was going to route over this here to round off the edges. Let me know as well if that's a good idea, because obviously it might reveal some of the plyboard behind it. I'm not entirely sure, but when it also all set and stuff, whether to sand it or, you know, route it off so it's rounded. I would like to round it if possible, but I'm not 100% sure. Routing is very new to me, so any ideas, let me know. I did purchase this, it's called Tool Cool. It's literally a blade that you run along the edge to trim. Don't recommend this. It's all right, but you end up with some like jaggedy edges. Even after sanding, it tears off too much. It's even like ripped off a bit there, which is very annoying. So the other option is to use a Stanley blade, which is better but much easier to do when it's not all assembled. So for future reference, if I'm going to do edge banding, which I would like to do obviously because it gives it a nicer finish, it is to use a Stanley blade before assembly. This is why we do these things though, so we can learn as we go. Either way, we've now got the lights done, the LEDs all sorted out, edge banding is all ironed on. I need to do the drawers in the next vlog, but this is all sanded down, looking nice. It is basically finished. And let me tell you, as I said, I've learned so much from doing this. One of the main takeaways I actually have from doing this, and a lot of the comments were, and feedback was like, why did I build it in instead of like, you know, I could have done all of this and then slotted it in, is because I don't actually plan or draw out. I have a rough idea of how I'm going to do things. I showcased that in the bookcase build where I drew it on a piece of paper. But I kind of build it as I go, take measurements, do the build, make sure it all slots in and stuff like that. And then that's why I'm like doing the edge banding at the end when I probably should have done it before assembly. However, moving forwards, I have actually got quite good at SketchUp. Like, here's a design, for example, of something that I am looking to do in the future, and it gives me a cut list, a cut diagram, exact measurements, and like a complete like layout of how I want to build something before I build it, so I can answer all those questions before I even start assembling like I have done here. And that way I won't run into mistakes like, oh, the drawers are a bit too small, so I'm gonna have to figure out a workaround. Edge banding is a bit of a pain in the ass to get on, stuff like that. So moving forwards, things will get better, but we have to make these mistakes to learn. At least I do. However, with a snap of the fingers, that is finally done. The monitors are in, everything's all wired up. I've got the F-nets in. I actually ended up adding a new hole at the back there because I really wasn't happy with so many wires traipsing along the top of the desk. And now as well, underneath, you can't see the wires. So it's all tidy away. It's almost, I'm almost really happy with it. There are a fair few mistakes that, as I've pointed out a couple of times throughout this vlog, I'm kind of glad that I've done this to find out what they were, so I know not to encounter them in the future. But generally speaking, it has come together quite nicely. The one thing I think I probably will change in the future somewhere down the line, whether that is the monitors themselves or the monitor arms, I don't like how like far away from the wall they are. It literally halves the desk size. On the plus side, you can lift them up and out the way and you'll have the whole surface area, which is another reason why I wanted to get rid of the wires, so you could just have a whole desk. But other than those like niggly little bits and bobs, I consider that a mission successful. Now it's time to prepare for the next bedroom project. However, we might have to wait a little bit for that one because I don't quite have the materials to do that, and there's some other stuff that I would like to tackle first. As much as Jess's wardrobe is up there on the priority list, she's currently got some shelves, so there's somewhere to store her clothes for the time being. But wow, what an endeavor it has been to do that desk space. As I say, like I've said so many times throughout this video, but I really do grind on myself about like mistakes and stuff like that. And it's honestly, it's how I actually learn. So it's good for me to point them out. I know people always say, don't point out your mistakes, don't worry about them, like, 'cause it is all DIY, but I want to get as good as humanly possible at doing this. And if it wasn't thanks to you guys, like, and all the support and the comments you show, I probably would have given up probably quite a while ago. I say that I am pretty stubborn. But speaking of you guys, I want to say a massive thank you to the guys over on Patreon who are supporting me. There are teasers to the things that I've shown in today's vlog that are already on Patreon, and you get vlogs early if you're subscribed over there. So if you want to be someone who watches the vlogs early, no ads, like it's no ads, vlogs early, and sneak peeks on projects and actual opinions that might actually sway how I film stuff, then Patreon is the place to do that. We are slowly but surely, now I'm catching up on top of things, going to be doing some more things with Patreon, so it's definitely a really good place to go check out. If you want to grab yourself some Orion Whittle merch, and links in the description as always. But thank you so much for watching. This has been Orion, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace, much love, bye-bye. And it's because the shelf space is, one thing is going to and if I wanted lights to go up the roof, up the ceiling into, now it's time to prepare. If you wanted 4, you'd take the whole perimeter, whole measurement, and then divide it by 5. No, you wouldn't. Yes, you would. That's exactly what you do. My brain is not working.